The current crisis was not the result of an inevitable accident, but the consequence of a long series of human errors, delayed decisions and lack of institutional coordination, according to an analysis by the Intelligent Energy Association quoted by Digi24 TV. Dumitru Chisăliță, president of the association, says that the situation is 100% human error and is an eloquent example of the systemic dysfunctions within the Romanian institutions. We have a state that unfortunately is drowning us not in water or silt, but in its own institutions that ride roughshod over each other. Without real reforms, in a month, 2 months, a year, we will have a new Paltinu, warns Dumitru Chisăliță. That was Radio Newsreel.
You are listening to Radio Romania International.
The future starts today.
Hello and welcome. I'm Cristina Mateescu. Information travels at dizzying speeds. Anyone can send a message that instantly reaches many people. Social networks share and repeat ideas at a pace that was hard to imagine until recently, and all this has led to an increase in disinformation. Disinformation that has acquired a new magnitude. We are now talking about a global phenomenon, most often financed and coordinated, which has the potential to influence elections, polarize societies, and put a strain on international relations. It is described by those who study the phenomenon as a war of the mind and perception, an invisible war. University professor Alina Bârgăoanu, a member of the advisory board of the European Observatory for Digital Media and an expert in combating disinformation, explains. What I would like to point out from the very beginning is the idea that the tools that are used to wage this information war are increasingly diverse, namely disinformation, propaganda, hostile influencing campaigns, cyber attacks, algorithmic warfare, data collection for micro-targeting, and even hyper-personalization. Secondly, people call this information war the invisible form of confrontation and has an invisible character, but at the same time it is also very visible. When describing the narratives hostile to the West, I say they are almost an ambient. By this I mean that they are nowhere and everywhere at the same time. As soon as a conversation starts, it is impossible not to have someone among our friends or colleagues who has not been exposed to such narratives. At the same time, you cannot put your finger on them. That is, where did I see them? Where did I hear them? So it's a war that is both visible and invisible. I think that the targets of political and informational warfare have started to be predominantly the European Union and NATO, with this very precise focus, according to my observations, on the European Union and especially on certain members of the European Union. So artificial intelligence allows content to be generated at a much higher speed, with much more flexibility and with a lot of capacity to adapt to local audiences. Stories, conspiracies no longer have to be generated by people. They can be generated using these methods. And I don't just mean writing, but writing, audio, video, and especially the combination of the three. This would be one element. The second element, which is much more spectacular in my opinion, is what has begun to be referred to in certain articles as large language models grooming. This means that the online space is flooded with misleading ideas, with things that didn't happen, with untruths, with a multitude of different opinions, with very, very inflammatory opinions, but the aim is not to catch the user's attention, but to pollute large linguistic models, so that when we ask ChatGPT, for example, what are the reasons why Ukraine was invaded by the Russian Federation, the chatbot would give us an answer that takes into account these narratives that were injected. When we used to do a Google search, it's possible that we would come across links that reproduced Kremlin's official rhetoric, but we could make a choice. We could read and compare different links. But now the answer that ChatGPT provides is prevalent and our ability to check is much lower. A study by the Institute for Strategic Dialogue, consisting of a prompt writing exercise with questions regarding Ukraine and conducted using the largest linguistic models, ChatGPT, Grok, Gemini and DeepSeek, showed that in the case of all four, 18% of the answers were aligned with the official rhetoric of the Russian Federation, answers that had been assimilated by the respective models, says disinformation expert Alina Bergovanu.
In this broadcast, it's Practical Guide.
Welcome to Practical Guide with me, Lăcrămioara Simeon. Today I'll be talking about Christmas fairs in Romania in 2025. With the winter holidays approaching, numerous Christmas fairs have opened or will open in Romania. Practically all major cities organize at least one fair. Tens of thousands of people participated on November 14th in the opening of the highly acclaimed 2025 Christmas fair in Craiova in the south, where at least 2 million visitors are expected. The theme of the 2025 edition is the story of the Nutcracker, and the organizers used about 2 million lights, bulbs, ornaments and light decorations, as well as silhouettes of luminous soldiers, ballerinas and enchanted castles and colors. The fair will be open until January 4th, 2026, and is organized in the central area of Craiova with 4 thematic areas: the circus, the world of the carousel, traditional Romanian Christmas, Santa Claus's village for children and families, and the area with Santa Claus's sleigh and artificial snow. One of the novelties is the artificial snow generated by snow cannons, with light effects that give the sensation that the flakes are floating in the air. Between November 14th and December 28th, there are traffic restrictions on the streets in the fair area. The famous Sibiu.
You can listen to our next program for Western Europe at 1200 hours UTC on 15460 kHz or 100 kHz when you cannot listen to the English language broadcasts on the usual frequency, as well as on the internet at RRI.ro channel 1. Listeners in India, New Delhi area are invited to tune in again tomorrow at 6:30 a.m. UTC on 21470 kHz in the DRM system or on 17780 kHz when you cannot listen to the English language broadcasts on the usual frequency. If you have any comments or suggestions, please write an email at engl@rri.ro. Goodbye.